Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner, and in this video I have for you guys another Cardfight Vanguard deck profile. This one should be shorter as it's an update to something that you've already seen before, and that's Regalia featuring CEO Yggdrasil. This is an updated deck to be more based on Legion. I've cut out the Minerva Angelica engine, and as such I've just gone full on aggressive, try and kill you fast style with the multiple crits and whatnot. And all I can really say is it's pretty solid. It can still steal wins against people because of Yggdrasil's skill, and it could potentially become really powerful when we get the G support, because God knows what's going to happen in Fighters Collection 2014. By the way it's looking, we're going to be getting a G unit that requires a Regalia in its heart, which means you can actually do things when you aren't able to Legion with Yggdrasil. So, who knows? I mean, we also may be getting a Stride Breakers, like when you perform Stride, Counterblast 1, Soul Charge 3. That'd be nice. Anyway, so starting Vanguard is still going to be Regalia, Prayers, Pray Angel. I am now running both Legions in here, so this thing is going to go off very quickly. Put into the Soul, get 5k, Soul Charge 3, helps you set up for your main boss monster, Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil is Yggdrasil. She has one of the best skills in the game, and your opponent cannot guard with 1 or higher, so Glory Maelstrom, and with an additional crit, this thing will probably cause tables to flip and salt to be made. But yeah, she's basically Sin Buster, but with an additional crit and no draw on hit, but you're sacrificing that draw for the ability to kill your opponent faster, although this deck doesn't have a Commander Laurel like Sin Buster does. And then I am running 4 copies of Midnight Regalia Nyx. Now, I bashed this card in the past as I felt it just wasn't that great, but I've had more time to look at the card and experiment with it. And I have also found that the whole Minerva Angelica thing is just too slow. You can't wait on a limit break, and they're just terrible early rise, whereas Nyx is at least something you can do when you aren't able to go into Yggdrasil. Her Soul Blast 3 draw card skill is actually very handy to get you out of the early game, especially if you've had the G-assist or have just bricked in general, or your opponent has like rushed you early and you had to commit cards. And the passive crit gain for Soul Blasting either herself or her mate while in Legion, in fact combined with the 12 crits, means your opponent has to be very wary of taking these attacks, as you'll be threatening to double or triple crit them from turn 3 or whatever. It's basically the same approach I'm taking with Percival, with Prominence Core, Prominence Glare, where I have a big boss monster like this to finish it up, and for the early game I have a boss monster that can terrorize the opponent with a passive crit skill. And she also gains 3k when you use that skill. Then for the grade 2s, 4 of your Yggdrasil's Legion mate, gain 5k to your Vanguard when it's Soul Blasted. 4 of Nyx's mate, Chimera, when you call this in your rear, you take 3 Regalias in your drop zone and put it into the Soul. Helps you to actually perform a bit of toolboxing with Nyx, as one of the things that has been a problem with this deck was the random soul charging aspect, where you would just soul charge triggers into your soul and that'd be bad. At least now with these two in combination, you can have Nyx soul blast out the triggers and have Chimera soul charge in the non-triggers. And then you can always just have Chimera soul charge another copy of herself in the soul blast it off to draw a card, which I should note is only live when you're at 3 or less cards in hand. But yeah, you just soul blast off a Chimera that you soul charged earlier and get the crit and then threaten stuff. So that's that. And because I'm now focusing strictly on Legion, Freya is much more viable in here. When you perform Legion, Counterblast 1, soul charge the top 3 of your deck, and with this and this in combination, you can get rid of the triggers that you soul charge with this. For the grade 1s, I am still running my 2-2 split of 2 Perfect Guards and 2 Quintets. To be perfectly honest, I need to go up to 4 Perfect Guards, but my other Perfect Guards are in another deck that a friend accidentally took with him when he moved out of city, so it's going to be a couple months before I can get those. And by then, I'm pretty certain BTG 4 will probably be out, and I'm thinking that's the set that will get new Genesis cards, and we can get the PGGs, because Genesis doesn't really care about its rear guards getting killed by the X or anything. So this will do for now. This ensures that I don't have to deal with Ragnarok Dragon pushing my shit in, and this ensures that I can, at the very least, get some cards into the drop zone for my Legion. In addition, I can just mill the top 5 cards in my deck for this, and then have Chimera and Shining Angel, put them into Soul. I can then have Nyx Soul Blast them off and gain power and such. And as such, for Shiny Angel, 2 Pure Angel, when you call it Counterblast 1, your Vanguard gets the ability of 5,000 power, and if it hits, Soul Blast 3, draw a card. It's just to help make your Yggdrasil bigger. I'm now running 2 copies of Witch of Cat's-Cumin just to help get early Soul Charges going, as you run the very real possibility of having your starters picked off by Narukami, Kagero, and Gear Chronicle. They're all things that'll just terrorize your rear guards. So this lets you at least get some Soul Charges, and it's a 7k attacker, so it can let you make 16 columns. 2 copies now of Ordinal. The one of just was not cutting it, so I've now bumped it to 2, so I'll see him more. Late game, he's amazing. He can help Yggdrasil swing for even bigger damage. Then for the triggers, I'm going the full YOLO 12 crits. I talked how bad this was before, but we're now at the point where this deck has to push your opponent to 3 to 4 damage as soon as possible, so that when you do go off with Yggdrasil, you have a high chance of killing them. I tried running rainbow triggers, that didn't work. I tried the 8-4 ratio with the draws was kind of nice too, but I feel like I want to get more value out of my quintets, yeah, and just being able to guard more attacks each year. And finally for heals. And then for the extra deck, it's more or less irrelevant. You can just run these until we get whatever's in Fire's collection. And that's pretty much it for the deck, I'd say. It's fairly straightforward. I mean, Genesis really is just Dimension Police, but with boobs. Like, the 2 decks at this point are the same. You are so Vanguard-centric that it all really comes down to do or die with your big swings. DPs change a little bit with their extra booster, but not by much. It's still going to be swing with Simbuster or Bust, or swing with Great Die Kaiser or that Legion, whatever, and die. So yeah, that's all I can really say with Regalia. As for what will be coming up on here, I actually just got the rest of my Oracle Think Tank cards in the mail, so soon I'll be able to have a profile of Coco Susano and maybe some games with it, as I've had a chance to play around with the deck a little bit, and I must say I am liking how it functions. And we'll just see what happens with this deck. Like, if you're a Genesis player, give me your thoughts on what you think is going to happen with this deck, and what we're going to be getting in Fighter's Collection, because we're going to be getting at least 2 G units, and God knows what else. Till then, though, this is Booster at 9, and remember, dragons don't die, they just sleep.